The pain started, I'd say, in like early winter. I was having some back pain, having some hip pain, nothing I couldn't work through. And then second game of the season, my third at bat, I took a swing on an inside fastball, and I tried to run to first base, and my hip no longer could lift my leg up. And I was concerned. I was in a whole lot of pain, and I didn't really know where to go with it. And when I got in the dugout, told my coach, took the rest of the day, and when I tried to walk out of the field that day, and that was hard. Tried to get to bed that night, and I couldn't lay flat on my back because I couldn't stretch my hip out. Um, the next day, went to the field, tried to do some warm ups, couldn't lift the knees, couldn't get my legs up there, and I'm like, okay, well, that might be the end of this season. So, had to talk to my parents, had to make some phone calls after that game, and get everything situated. It was a pretty long, confusing process. The first few months, we were mainly focused on my back. We did some X-rays, and they found a stress fracture in my lower back, and I was very concerned about that. And that was the moment that Jeremy told me that my season would be over for sure that year, because I mean that was going to be 3 to 4 months of rehab at least. Um, but the good news, I got the back fixed after all the rehab and healing. It ended up putting itself back together. But then while I was doing that, I was having significant right hip pain as I was trying to stretch it out, lengthen it out, get my core strong. And I was trying to figure it out with Jeremy, trying to figure it out with the doctors, and finally with the MRIs and the X-rays, they came back with a torn labrum and a problem with inside my hip. So the main step was getting the back fixed and then moving on to the hip after that. We fixed the hip with surgery, had to have my bone shaved down, had to have the cartilage repaired inside, and then had to have the labrum tied back in there. And after the surgery, I was rehabbing for at least 6 months. I had my doctor tell me it would be 6 to 9, and I had a couple other people tell me it'd be 9 to 12. And I said, well, if the doctor's saying 6 to 9, I'm doing 5. So I pushed it as much as I could, and I was getting ready for senior season, and then the left hip took a turn as well. The left one happened, I'd say, about halfway through senior season. I was just starting to get to the point where I was more comfortable about to get back onto the field, and I went for a night run, and the hip didn't like it, and I had a very similar sensation where my outside of my hip just tensed up, my glute was firing, my hip flexor was firing, everything was angry. And the next day I went and saw the trainers, and I told them, hey man, exact same thing. I feel the exact same thing, and they're like, okay, let's get you to the doctor. And there was nothing we could do with inside the 2 months before the season ended. So I tried to do what I could. I ended up getting a couple of at bats and a couple of innings in the field with some of my guys. So that was an absolute blessing. And then right as the season was coming to a close and the team was getting ready to go to Birmingham for the playoffs, I had to go under again and get my left hip fixed. Mentally, I tried not to think of it as life changing. I tried not to think of it as a major change. I knew I had this fifth year in my bag. I knew I could get all the reps that I needed to get myself ready for this season. So as long as I had the time to get myself healthy, I could do it. It sure was disappointing though, given that these are supposed to be the 4 best years of your life, and I spent 2 of them hobbling around on crutches and trying to get myself healthy. But I really tried not to think of it too much. I tried to stay positive, tried to use all my resources. I had a lot of people in my corner pushing me to get back on the field, pushing me to get healthy, and that really helped me. It was a little tough, a little tough. Not being on the field was disappointing, but watching them have the success that they deserved was truly a blessing. I saw how hard they were working, and I knew that I was a part of that leading up to it. I knew that I helped instill what we could do. And even though I couldn't be on the field leading that, I was trying to do my best in the dugout, helping everybody stay focused and keep their eyes on the prize. It's been surreal. It's beyond words. This season has been absolutely spectacular. I love every guy that's on this team. We brought in 13 great freshmen who bring a lot of energy and a lot of brotherhood to the team. The field is absolutely spectacular. The stadium remodel has been one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And I mean, just being out in the field is probably the greatest feeling. Knowing that all of this hard work is finally paying off, and that I'm getting this chance to prove that I am an athlete still, and I can still do this. In the moment, it was just another at bat. I went up there trying to put a good swing on the ball, and when I felt it off the bat, I'm like, oh, that one felt good. And I put my head down, started running, and I looked up, and the left fielder's watching it bounce over the fence, and I couldn't have been happier. I didn't know what I had done. It was the first one of my career, first one that I've ever hit in front of my family in a game like this, and after the game was when the real significance hit. Mrs. Kosderka was telling me about how influential Jerry Gatto was, and how significant he was to the people at Lewis and Clark, and that really made me feel special and deserving of all of this hard work.